Hi everyone, this is Cindy B with mrsbscraftroom.blogspot.com here with a really super cute pumpkin project idea for you. I was in Archivers this weekend and ran across this project sheet in the Archivers store, and I thought, man, that is such a cute pumpkin. So this is what I created. You guys can see it here. It's all made out of paper. It does take a lot of paper. It takes 8 sheets of two-sided decorative paper. And then I cut the leaves with my Cricut. And then I made the stem for the pumpkin using the Martha Stewart fringe scissors. So I'm going to do the video today and show you all how to make this really fun pumpkin. It's super easy. You'll notice it's the pinwheels that are the latest craze. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make that pumpkin from the Archivers instruction sheet. Alright, so the first thing, let's move our pumpkin out of the way. So the first thing we're going to need to do, and I'll go ahead and put all the dimensions on my blog for you. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut out all the paper strips. And like I said, it takes 8 sheets of paper. It takes a lot of paper to go ahead and make this. So I'm just going to lay these out. There's really too many to lay out, but I've got all of mine marked the sizes that they are. And I didn't use the same colors through the whole project. I changed it up a bit, which you really kind of have to. I bought a Die Cuts with a View paper stack and used 8 of the pieces of paper from that stack. So what I'm going to do is, for instance, we're going to start with the smaller set, which is the, let's see, 2 strips of 1 1/4 by 12 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and pinwheel fold these. So I'm going to score all of my pieces of paper. We're going to score all of these on the 12-inch side at 1 1/4 inches all the way across on both pieces. So I'm going to go score all of my pieces of cardstock, which will take me a little while, but I'll be right back with everything scored, and I'll show you how to put the pumpkin together. Okay, I have all of my strips cut and scored, and I think I mentioned to score in the 1/4 inch. Actually, it's on the 1/2 inch. So one of the things that I did when I cut all my strips is I wrote on the top, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the 1 3/4 inch strip, and then these are the 3 1/4 inch strips. So I wrote them on here with pencil so that I would remember the size that they are. So now that I've got all of them scored, we're just going to basically do the pinwheel fold, which is the fan folding. Pretty simple. And we're going to do it, the bottom and the top piece of the pumpkin just have 2 strips of paper. All of the rest are going to have 1 strip of paper. I mean 3 strips of paper. And, you know, so the pumpkin's going to get fatter in the center and then smaller on the bottom and top. So that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so now that we've got them folded, and when I folded mine, I folded the first one up and I folded the second one down so that I can put them together in the fold. So what we want to do is take the 2 ends, we're going to attach them together, and we're going to have this piece coming up and this piece going down, and we'll line them up. And then I'm just going to use my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, because you really can't see this when the pumpkin's together. So we're going to attach both ends, and that way I don't have to worry about hot glue or adhesive or anything like that. Okay, so now we've got that in a circle. The next thing we're going to want to do is I went ahead and you'll need 20 circles. So I just punched using a circle punch 20 circles. So you'll need 1 for the bottom of the pinwheel. So what we're going to do is go ahead and using glue dots, put a couple of glue dots on the bottom of that circle. And that's just basically going to hold it in place until we can get the hot glue in the center to hold it together. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down on the board. And these pinwheels, because they're so big, they do kind of get kind of bulky to push out. So you just have to kind of play with them a little bit. But so you're going to want to push it out and then lay it on your dot with the glue dots. And then just kind of arrange it the way you want it to be. Kind of like that. Going to hold it in place and take your hot glue gun and fill in that circle with the hot glue. And add a little bit on top. And then you're going to go over that with another circle. So now you've basically got a circle on the bottom and a circle on the top. There we go. So we're going to do that for each one of the strips. And so you'll notice I went ahead and did the next strip that goes up. And so basically this is going to go on top of that. So you're not going to even see that bottom piece, but it gives the base for the beginning of the pumpkin. And so let's go ahead and put all of our pieces together. One thing I want to point out is I went ahead, since now I have the pinwheel together, I've lost the handwritten piece that I've written on the paper to show me what size it is. So I just went ahead and wrote 2.5 inches. So each one, the next pinwheel up is going to be 3 1/4. So when I put it together, I'll write 3 1/4, and that way I'll know which way to layer them up if they get out of place. So I'm going to go ahead and put all my pinwheels together, and I'll be right back. Alright, I have all of my pinwheels made. Let me zoom out so you guys can see them. I've laid them out on my desk, and I have taken some distress ink. This is the Tim Holtz from Ranger Vintage Photo Distressed Ink, and I have gone around the edges of all of the pinwheels, and I have this last one to do, and I'm just basically going around the edges and coloring in the white core of the cardstock, so when the pumpkin's put together, you don't see all that white core. And then just taking a little bit of the ink and adding it to the top of the pinwheel, and that will give it a little bit of depth when it's put together. Alright, so there we go. Okay, so we're ready to put our pumpkin together. Now, like I said before, I have all mine numbered, and so I'm going to start with the bottom piece, and this is the 1 3/4. So we're going to start with that as our base. So let me move the rest of these out of the way so I can show you what we're doing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with the base. And we're going to adhere the next one, which is the 2.5 inch pinwheel, on top of that one. So instead of using the hot glue gun, I'm going to use glossy accents. I recently took an online class with Jennifer McGuire, and she was showing to use glossy accents as an adhesive. It really is a strong adhesive. So let me get my bottle opened up here. Guys, does this happen to you guys all the time? Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glossy accents on there. Now I want to center the bigger pinwheel on top. So I'm going to turn over the bigger one and center the base. Now this is not the way that it's going to go, but I want to center it so that it stands up and it's all proper. So if you see that, actually that is really a pretty pinwheel. That's a great idea for another project. But so that's the bottom, and it's centered, and we're going to flip it over, and now we have the base for our pumpkin. So basically what we're going to do is just continually build in the order of the strips. So the next one would be the 3 1/4 pinwheel, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put some glossy accents on that one. We're going to pick it up. We're going to center it on the next one. And make sure it's centered. Push down. There we go. Flip it over, and then we have the next layer. So I'm just going to build all of these up to create our pumpkin. Okay, so now I have my pumpkin put together and it's drying. So I'm going to set the pumpkin aside and allow it to dry. And while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and make the stems. So we're going to cut 3 strips of paper. Now I just used some designer cardstock that I had. It's got a little bit of a design on it, but it really doesn't matter. You can use plain. So 3 strips cut at 1.5 by 12. Now, have you guys seen these really funky scissors from Martha Stewart? At first I was like, wow, but these are some really fun scissors. What we're going to do is take that strip of paper, and on the 12-inch length, we're just going to go not quite to the bottom, maybe a 1/4 inch from the bottom, and we're just going to cut. And these are the fringe scissors. Isn't that cool? I love that. I love how that makes the fringe. If you've watched another one of my videos where I made the birthday party hat and used the fringe scissors on tissue paper, oh, it was so much fun. So anyway, we're going to cut down on all 3 strips of paper, like that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and cut all 3. Okay, so I've got all of my strips fringed. One thing I forgot to mention was I wanted to ink the edges before I cut them. I didn't do that, so I inked them afterwards. I would recommend doing it before. Anyway, so how we're going to make the stem is we're just going to start on one end of the strip, and we're just going to roll. Real simple. You're just going to roll that up. You want to keep the bottom and the top even. So we're just going to roll that up. Just kind of shear it up as you're going up your roll, like that. Alright, and then we're going to put a little piece of glue right there to hold it. And then we're going to start the next strip, and we're going to put glue on there, just on the bottom part, not on the fringy part. You want the fringe to be loose. So again, we're going to roll. It's pretty simple. Once you get it to a nice size, you can hold it between your fingers. And again, we're just going to glue. And do the last. Okay, so we have the stump, the little stem done. So I finished the 3rd strip and glued it on. So now we have the little stump. So I'm just going to take my thumbs and kind of brush out the fringe thing. You don't want it to stand too terribly out, but you just want it to kind of blossom out at the top. All right, so there we go. So now see how that just kind of, I don't know if you can see that, it kind of blossoms out. So now we're going to glue this on the top of our pumpkin. And again, I'm going to use the glossy accents. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right there. And center that right in the center of the pumpkin. Alright, so we're going to let that dry. Starting to look like a pumpkin. We're going to let that dry. And next we're going to create our leaves. So I'm using my gypsy, and let's see if you guys can see this. I'm using the cartridge straight from the nest, and I don't know where my stick thing is, but I'll just use my fingernail. So if you can see the leaves there. Now the leaves, they're kind of angled funny on here, and I don't like how they're angled. They're going to take up too much. They're going to cut. I won't use my paper effectively. So what I'm going to do is go into the hide contour, and I'm going to hide one of those leaves, and then I'm going to move it up here to the top, and then I'm going to copy it and move one right next to it. And that way, you know, I think I've saved a little paper the best that I can. But also I wanted to let you know that the leaves are cut at real dial size at 6 inches. And the reason I had to do 6 inches is because there's 2 leaves on there, and if I want the leaf to be 3 inches, but because there's 2, when I did 3 inches, the leaves only ended up being 1.5 inches. So upped it to 6 inches, and then my leaves will cut at 3 inches. So I'm going to go cut these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cut the leaves out, and these are the 2 leaves that I ended up with. And this was just some Bow Bunny paper that I had in my stash. So I'm going to ink around the edges of the leaves, and I also want to make some little twirly things to hang down from the pumpkin. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to cut these myself. Whenever I try to cut real thin lines with my paper trimmer, I never get it right. So I'm just going to take my paper, line it up on my mat with a line, and then just line up my ruler, and using my X-Acto knife, just cut thin strips. So this seems to work out better for me. You can cut the strips however you prefer. If your paper trimmer can cut something this thin, I'd love to know what brand you have. Whoops. So the one I have doesn't. Alright, so I'm just going to cut a few strips here. Alright, and once I have the strips cut, what we're going to do is make some little tendrils. So the way that we'll do that is we'll just take a paintbrush, and pretty simple, just take a paintbrush and start on one end and just start wrapping them around, you know, kind of down the paintbrush so that they stay, and then just slide them off. So I'm going to do that to all these. Just kind of keep your finger on that end if it wants to come off. No big deal. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my little tendrils, and then we'll put them on the pumpkin. Alright, so I've inked around the edges of my leaves, and I did that using the Tim Holtz Distress ink, and I used the peeled paint color. So now I've taken my thumb and I've just kind of bent the leaf up a little bit, just to kind of give it some dimension. And also I'm tearing off this little stem. I don't need that stem, so I'll go ahead and ink that up too so it doesn't show. So I'm trying to decide if I want to add some bling to this pumpkin. I don't know. What do you guys think? The leaves are going to go on like this. I'm thinking I might want to add some glitter. So I'm going to use the Sparkles Diamond, I think it's like a diamond glue. I received this in one of my Club Ruby kits a few months ago. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some swirls. Let's see if I can get the camera to go down. There we go. So I'm just going to add some swirls. Nope, if I can get it to come out. Just something to give it a little bit of sparkle. There we go. Not a lot, just something to give these things, when the light hits, it'll sparkle a little bit. And they don't have to be perfect. There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna, I don't know, can you see the little bit of sparkle that's on there? Okay, so I'm going to set those aside and let those dry. In the meantime, I'm going to add the tendrils to the pumpkin. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've turned my hot glue gun back on, and I've taken one of the tendrils, and I just kind of took it and pulled it a little bit to give it some shape. And I'm just going to pick a spot on my pumpkin, add some hot glue. It may not be heated up enough yet. Okay, it's not heated up enough, so let's just go ahead and use glossy accents. So I'm just going to make a little dot on there and just put my tendril. where I want it to go. So I'm just going to do that for a few of them. If I can squeeze one in the center there. There we go. Alright, now my leaves are going to go, one's going to go in like that. So let's go ahead and put some more glossy accents in there. We'll put our leaf in there. Just kind of push it down. Alright, and then the second leaf is going to be coming out this way. So I'm going to put a couple more tendrils out on this side. There we go. Okay, let's put some. You can arrange these however you choose. You don't have to do it this way. Kind of like that hanging over the top. Push that one down. Kind of like how they all kind of stick up. And then I'm going to put one more. And I'm going to put, kind of slip it down underneath one of those pinwheels so it looks like it's coming out from down there. There we go. Alright, so there's with the little curly Q things off there. And then I added one more thing that I thought it needed. I love twine, and I thought it needed a little bow. So I'm just using some twine from Paper Tray Ink, tying it around the stem. Try not to knock all my leaves and my tendrils off before they dry. And just kind of cutting that and just kind of letting that flow where it wants to. And there's the pumpkin. Oops. Didn't that turn out cute? And again, that's from a project sheet from Archivers. The project sheet looks like this. I'll go ahead, on the project sheet, there is a copy of, it lists all the sizes for the pumpkin. I'll go ahead and list on my blog all of the sizes so that you know how to cut each one. And I hope you guys have fun with it. I really enjoyed making these pumpkins. I love them. This one I made for my mother. I might be making a few more. Have fun, and if you guys make any and you want a link to my blog, just let me know. Put a link in your comment, and I'd love to see what you guys make. All right, thanks a lot, and have a great week. Thank you.